I could have closed the businesses. I could have walked away. I could have put everybody's family out to secure mine, kept a whole bunch of toys and houses and stuff like that. But that's entrepreneurship. That's what we sign up for.
Welcome to Built in Vegas, the podcast where we spotlight the stories, strategies, and resources behind the businesses that make Vegas thrive. Whether you're starting up or scaling up, you're in the right place. Brought to you by the Video Podcast Studio.
So Built in Vegas, the podcast is supposed to be more like entrepreneurship is kind of a lonely road a lot of times. And so like hearing other people's stories, their failures, the mistakes that they've learned can help another entrepreneur out, right? And then for me, it's also like I get to like learn from other entrepreneurs that have been at places and done things that I haven't done. So it's more about that, just kind of like the journey, and anything you want to talk about, we can talk about too.
It's your show, bud.
Yeah.
Who's here?
Yeah. Ours is pretty chill too. It's like, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I just show up. But I mean, like I said, because we can touch base on any of that. If you're talking about specifically Built in Vegas, man, there's a lot. Vegas has changed a lot, especially for entrepreneurs. I mean, I left during COVID, closed down a whole bunch of businesses, like detail shops, anything that was travel related, all pretty much got closed down during COVID. I mean, you were either going to close down, eat shit, hope for PPP loans, whatever it might be. But then the handshake went away from Vegas, right? Vegas has always been who you know, not what you know. And now it's so corporate. After COVID, corporate, for all of us as entrepreneurs, did this big shift. So I left for 4 years, moved to my farm in Michigan, come back. And I don't know if you do collectibles at all, but all the machines pop up on the strip that have like the Pokemon, like the upgraded Pokemon cards and stuff. So I own a bunch of those.
Oh, cool.
And originally I was like, oh man, I'll just make some phone calls. Let me call my guy down at the Cosmo. We'll drop a machine in. And they're like, dude, like we have to get board approval for this stuff now. Like that whole handshake deal was gone, except for my biggest competitor, who owns the other machines, is the CEO of the Plaza. So he gets the handshake deals through corporate because he's still considered corporate, which is wild to me. Because let's say Stratosphere, for example, has one of their machines in it. They declined me when we pitched at the same time and went with the Plaza. Why would you be supporting another subsidiary owned by another casino before you would be supporting another local business, right? Makes no sense. In the real world, in the world of economy, it makes no sense. Yeah. In the corporate world, it makes perfect sense because they think the guy who runs the Plaza is safer than the other person. But then how do you build? The Plaza doesn't want to send people to Stratosphere. They have the same matching machine inside the Plaza. So if they get to choose, they're going to want to send them to the Plaza where they're not paying. But in the corporate world, that doesn't register, where back in the day it used to. Because then they'd be like, no, we want to take care of our guy over here because he's going to take care of us. He's going to come down here and do content. Since COVID, none of that matters. And if you've been around here, you should know. It used to, I mean, Vegas has always been that way. Who can you grease or whose hand can you shake? Those days are gone.
Yeah, it's been changing a lot.
We don't get those days at all anymore.
Yeah.
So there's, like I said, there's a lot we can cover. I've been down this road. I've been down on the back end of all of it. I've been on the front end of all of it. You tell me. You cover whatever.
We'll go through all of it. How did you get into entrepreneurship in the first place? Did you like grow up, like were you selling candy? Like did you know like this is what I want to do?
I never worked for anybody else, if that's what you're saying, ever. But I grew up in a bad way in a bad neighborhood. So you said selling candy. That's funny because my first real gig was selling the sour strips, you know, that you get at the candy store for $1 a piece as a kindergartner on the bus. And that was next step up from there is moving to CDs, when you could burn CDs, right? So all of a sudden we're in middle school, you can burn CDs. So back then it was like Nelly came out, so we were burning those CDs, we were selling those, and then the rest of the stuff wasn't exactly legal for a little bit there, but there was never turning. Once you're built in, once you're locked in and you learn that the world has so much more to it, you can't go back to a 9 to 5. I did a stint on probation once and they made me do a 9 to 5, and it was only for 4 months, and I thought I was gonna die. I work more than anybody that works a 9 to 5 as an entrepreneur. You know what that is.
Yeah.
We work more than anybody, but we also want to be able to do it on our own time.
Yeah.
So that's, once you learn that, you're never.
Yeah, there's like that meme or quote that's like, entrepreneurs are the people that work 80 hours a week to not work 40 hours a week.
Exactly.
And it's true, there was a moment where like I wanted to give up on entrepreneurship. I was just kind of burnt out. I felt like a failure, like money drained, right? And I had an opportunity. Somebody wanted to buy me out and wanted me to come work for them. And my wife was supportive. She's like, hey, whatever you decide to do, like, I trust you. So I thought about it, and I was like, I can't do it. Like, I'd rather be poor and work for myself and deal with the stresses. Like, I don't like them. I can't have a boss. Like, I can't do this. I want to do what I want to do, and I want to do it the way I want to do it. And I like, like for me, I did work a 9 to 5 when I was like 17. I worked at Linens and Things, which is like Bed Bath and Beyond, folding towels.
Right.
And it was miserable. I was making like $6.15 an hour. And I remember I gave my first paycheck after like 2 or 3 weeks, like just miserable. I was like, at least I'm going to be like rich,
Right.
And then I get a check, it's like $120 or something. I was like, dude, I make more mowing lawns. Like, what am I doing here?
That's the problem. So I teach my kids. I teach everybody that I come across that the world is full of FU money. Okay? It is. You can make money in the stupidest places as long as you're willing to do what other people won't. And that sounds awful sometimes, but the only difference is sacrifice. Okay? You're an entrepreneur. You can understand this where the other person can't. I'm also very big on fitness, right? That's why I'm in the weight loss space now. We give free coaching. We do all of that stuff because we try to encourage people to start making the sacrifices they wouldn't normally make. And as an entrepreneur, you make a sacrifice, whether it's time, whether it's freedoms, as you said, your sanity, because that's one of the hardest things, right? And once you're willing to make those sacrifices, you can find the FU money that nobody else can because you see opportunity differently, and you understand that you're not constrained by the system that we were taught, right? Especially here in Vegas. You go to school, you're taught, if you're lucky, you can become a casino executive. You can work in marketing, right? Like 50% of the girls are going to go become strippers because it's easy money. But we can make $50,000 a week on vending machines, right? And I mean that in the full sense, like provable on paper. We're not, no gloating, just that's how stupid the world is. So if I can buy a $10,000 vending machine and I can fill it with $10,000 worth of merchandise, and I can turn that into 5 figures a week, almost overnight because of social media and because we live in a city where these machines wouldn't do good at a local mall because nobody's going to go back and keep buying mysteries, right? But when the demographics change every week, week over week, day over day, then it's a revolving door. Then the hype never goes away for those people. So why would I ever go work a 9 to 5? Why? I would sacrifice, I would do whatever I have to do to come up with the money for that machine and to fill it. But then I also have to sacrifice because I have to build a social media. And that's not nearly as easy as they make you think it is when you when you do it. I don't know. I know that you're on all the platforms, right? My biggest following on TikTok is like 150,000, which is not small, but is definitely not large, right? My biggest on YouTube, I think my biggest channel on YouTube is 88,000, 89,000, somewhere. And that one's pretty decent.
Yeah, that's
because
great.
getting to 10,000 on YouTube is like
crazy.
a task.
Yeah.
But that stuff is hard, but you're still going to sacrifice the time. Or right now in our thing, we're selling free coaching, free fitness coaching, right? How many people do you see online that are selling, come sign up for my program, I'll be your coach, I'll make you a nutrition plan, and it's always garbage. So we sell it for free. I can't get people to sign up for free, right? Wild, because everybody thinks there's going to be a catch to it
Exactly.
or whatever it is. But the reality of the situation is I will make my money somewhere else, but I can educate my clientele here for free, and educated clients pay for educated services, which cost more.
Yeah.
But I can't even put them into the funnel because there's so many people ripping everybody off. They can't even go there where they, like, I make videos and I'm like, you never put your credit card information in, ever, right? I'll never ask for it. Go. I ask my doctors, my personal trainers, everybody that I have on staff to eat it with me and make sure that they're active. And then I have to explain to them that there's the fake it till you make it stage. And if only an entrepreneur would understand this, everybody else, when you look from the outside in, you don't understand what fake it till you make it means. If you did social media, you know 100% what it means. You post videos like millions of people are going to see them. Because if you don't, millions of people will never see them. But when you see that you get 1 view, 10 views, 20 views, 40 views, it's disheartening. So you have to continue faking like you have 1 million followers until the numbers come up.
Yeah.
Business is no different. In this free coaching platform, I can't let my team stop posting information on there because when somebody shows up to it, it has to operate like there's 1 million people watching it. Otherwise, they're not going to be the second person watching it, right? So we keep posting like there's 1 million people on these boards using all of the staff and just faking it.
Yeah. I like that perspective of creating content like 1 million people are watching it. You know, like, and it is true, like you post something, like I'll do live streams and there's like 4 people in there. But for me, I always, and that, what we try to remind our clients is like, you need to be grateful that you even have 4 people. The fact that they had 4 people, like those people should be the most important people in the world. And if you treat them like that, it's going to grow. But I like the idea of also when you create content, don't create content with the perspective of like, oh man, only 2 people are going to see this. Because you're also not going to care about what you're putting out there.
Right.
You're going to have a different like personality than if you go like, man, what if I had 1 million followers? What if it was like this? Let me post like I have that. And yeah, going back on the sacrifice, man, dude, sacrifice. You, depending on what you're building, like how big do you want to be? You have to sacrifice more to get further along. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, a client actually, about he wants to start his own business, and we're talking about like, how do you do this, that? I was like, well, cool. It's like, but the thing is, like, you work a lot, and I'm not willing to work that hard. I'm not willing to do this. I'm not willing to do that. And I just looked at him and I was like, if you're not willing to sacrifice some time with your family, you lost.
Right.
You don't go into business. I was like, look, I try to be at my son plays hockey. I'm at every game, almost every practice, right? I'm not willing to compromise on certain things. Like I was just at my 4-year-old's first day of pre-K. Like I'm there.
Right.
But guess what? I'm going to work really late. I'll come home. I'll see them for 2-3 hours. I'll put them in bed. Then I'm going to come back and work. And I'm going to sacrifice some things because I want to build something bigger. I want to achieve a certain level of success to provide them with even more things. And if you're not willing to make those sacrifices and work hard, your business isn't going to grow.
If you can manage, there's so much more that you can do. And I always tell people this story, and all the time people tell me that I'm crazy. And you're an entrepreneur, you're a family man, you're married, you'll understand. And in a second here, you're gonna be like, okay, how the hell are you doing it? Because everybody says the same thing, and I always have to remind them, we have the same 24 hours. Okay. You're a father. How many kids do you have?
2.
Okay. I am a single father of 5. Okay. Part of my agreement with my kids when we moved back here, no house cleaners, no babysitters, no nothing. Now, luckily, my kids are a little bit older now than when we moved. So my daughter is going to be driving this year. She'll be able to help. They can stay home and do some of their stuff on their own now. But they do karate. So we do like 6 hours of karate every week. I go to the gym for an hour every day, like clockwork. I still have to do my work, but now I have to pick them up and drop them off. Well, when you have kids that are in elementary school, middle school, and high school out here, the high school starts an hour earlier than the middle school, which starts an hour earlier than the elementary school. So now you have 3 hours of drop-offs and 3 hours of pickups. So there's 6 hours there plus an hour to the gym, right? That's a full-time job right there. But you still have to work. You still have to build. You still have to be able to do that. So you have to learn to manage. You have to learn to delegate. You have to learn when to sacrifice and when not to sacrifice.
Yes.
And that to me is an entrepreneur. That is the heart of an entrepreneur. Because people are like, oh, this doesn't sound real. Right? And right now, like I said, I'm in this weight loss space. And,
Oh, hello? Hey, how's it going? Hey. I thought Gabe was out there. Okay.
Nobody's out there.
I was at the other door. Okay. Yeah, I was so confused. Thank you. So I saw you left, so I was like, so confused.
he left and she's like, hello.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's we all have the same 24 hours. And how we manage that, or like I said, like I was saying, it's right now, I'm in this weight loss space. And we were going over projections. What is it worth? Weight loss has always been worth a lot of money. Think Fen, Jenny Craig, Slim Fast. And what are the fads been through, right? Right now we're on GLP-1s.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, man, we could do this better. There's so much bad information. I don't know if you remember the V-Shred guy. It's like, you can eat whatever you want. I really hate that guy because there's a lot of bad information in there. It would never work. It's like when people got the lap band surgery, they would do that. They'd become really small, but they never changed their habits. So 2 years later, they're bigger than they ever were. All bad. So I was like, okay, I can step into this. We could do better. I start building this entire nationwide network of doctors, which is not an easy task to do. It's not a cheap task because we want to be able to cater to all 50 states. And then we're looking at our competitors. Well, there's one competitor. What's it called? Hims, for hers.
Oh, yeah,
Everybody's heard of that, right? They do the same stuff. Then we start looking into their numbers. Well, their average customer is paying $400 a month on a reoccurring subscription. They have 2.4 million customers. What does 10% of their market cap look like on a monthly reoccurring subscription, right? That makes what we're building is a huge project. Now, I was talking to an influencer, and I'm not going to throw him under the bus because I don't believe in that, but he's kind of a douche. But we made a deal, or we had a tentative deal where he wanted a percentage of what he could bring in. He was going to help market, which is good. 1 million followers in the fitness space, it's a good place to start. And then he wanted a set salary. I'm like, dude, we could do that. I said, let me go with my guys. We get with our research team. We look into this guy. You're local here, Luso Auto. Then they've been popped for stealing a bunch of money from Raiders players and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So he signs on with them to get free stuff done on his car and is now promoting them. And I said, look, man, I can give you a higher commission or I can give you a percentage of the whole company to do some videos and stuff, but I have to leave a room of separation because if they're running all of these scams, they're under federal indictment right now, and then you're over here the face of them. If I ever decide I wanted to crowdfund money that would look really bad for you to be the face of this and also putting your face on somebody else's stuff. And I said, so you get to make the sacrifice if you want in on this. He's like, nah, bro, you're full of it. This is just your excuse out. I said, bro, I could have ghosted you. I'm giving you away. This is a huge project. You could take a percentage of it, but I have to leave some room, some exit room for myself. If, God forbid, they start scamming people and they start using your identity to do it because you're attached to them. Now you're attached to me and you're an employee with me and I'm paying you to be the face of this thing, then I'm going to let them tank my business and I don't even know those people.
Yeah.
So you get to sacrifice something because you made that decision to get on with this big thing. He's like, no. I'm like, you know what, man? I'm good. That is the point of, if I would have been willing to give him 10% of the company on ground floor, and we just talked about what the cap looks like, and according to him, he said the most he's ever made is about $400,000 a year. His potential to make that sacrifice right now would have been much larger, but he's not willing to make it because it's easier to say, give me this guarantee.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I think, what separates entrepreneurs from the other people, right? Like, we are willing to do the long term. We're willing to sacrifice for the bigger outcome, whereas other people want the easy payout, the quicker thing.
Right.
You know, same thing with like building the studio. Like, I had a pretty comfy lifestyle. I was working like maybe 6-7 days out of the month and making pretty good money doing videos. And I was like, but I wanted to build something bigger. I wanted to build something we could scale. I wanted to build something I could sell, because my production stuff I can't sell because it's just me. It's a solopreneur, you know, no overhead. It was wonderful. I had very little stress. It was a great life. And oftentimes I'm like, why did I decide to throw that all away? But because I want to build something bigger. And that sacrifice is what it takes. Like, you have to get uncomfortable. You have to push the envelope. You have to try things. And you have to be willing to be okay not getting paid for a couple of years for a bigger payout.
Right.
But most people are just too scared to do that. They want that easy money, the easy...
I'm telling you. If I can't get people to commit to free coaching for weight loss. Think about that, right? I did a video the other day and people were arguing with me on the internet. And I said, it's easier to see weight loss results in 30 days than it is to look at yourself in the mirror for the next 30 days disgusted with yourself. They're like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
It tells its own story. There's a reason that one percenters are 1%, right? There is a reason that it's there. But the sacrifices, everybody's going to make the sacrifices. Everybody's going to make the gamble. I have never seen an entrepreneur that's not a Nepo baby, that hasn't wondered how they were going to pay their bills or how they were going to feed their family or feed themselves, or living for months on ramen noodles because that's all that they could afford while building an empire. But that's the same person that would make that sacrifice and will have an actual empire, right? Somebody that's going to have a Fortune 500 company because they were willing to sacrifice when everybody around them was blowing the little bit of money they had on the bar or going out or vacations and eating good food, making fun of the guy who's eating ramen noodles and buying them at Costco size bundles because it's cheaper to eat the same nasty food over and over again that way. Those are the people that I love. Those are the people that I look for. Those are the people that I will save them in their own businesses to invest, because I know if they can make it over the hump, that anytime something gets hard, they're still going to be there.
Yeah.
Everybody else, you don't know. They say, what's the statistics on new businesses closing within the first 12 months? It's something crazy, right?
Yeah, most of them.
Yeah, it's like 80-something
and
percent.
in 3 years, it's the rest of them almost.
Right. So now the question is, how many of those businesses could or should have weathered a storm and become successful? right? Because we know you can have a horrible product and good marketing and stay in business. V-Shred taught us that, and he made millions. just for an example, right? You can also have the best product in the world with bad marketing, and you can fail completely. So you have to have somewhere in between. But how many times did some of these small businesses that have great ideas hit a hiccup or something that they didn't know how to overcome? So somebody gave them an offer to go work in an office somewhere to close it down. So they closed it down and they walked away, and they have no idea what they walked away from.
Yeah. Now there's I invested in a food truck, and it was an expensive learning experience for me, because I wasn't running it. I had this guy that, thought he was more willing to fight for things. And I was like, all right, this guy's, working hard. He needs money for a truck. Like, I was looking to invest in something. We invested in him. Like 6 months later, he finally gets the truck. He's screwing up a ton, but that's okay. Like, that's part of the journey, dude. Like, I'm not expecting perfection. Like,
Right.
Here's some things that could be better about, like, especially with customer service. Like, here's some ways to handle these things, kind of mentoring him. And then, money was getting tight for him, and then just gave up. Literally, because it got hard. He's like, this is so much harder than I thought. I'm done. And I was like,
Right.
like, you have to weather the storm. Like, dude, I've been in situations where I literally have like $300 in my bank account. I'm like, how are we going to freaking get through this month?
Right.
I'm the sole provider.
Right.
My wife doesn't work. Like, how am I going to pay our mortgage? How am I going to pay for food?
COVID. I don't know if you were you self-employed during
Yeah.
COVID? Did it hit you?
So we were in a unique situation that COVID was actually pretty decent for me, because my bigger clients needed to do more video because they couldn't do in-person graduations. They couldn't do this.
Oh, okay.
So I was a little bit unique situation. I was very scared at the beginning, though. I was like, crap. I told my wife, I'll go work at Smith's. Like, whatever I have to do to get through this, we'll do it. But we were very fortunate that in COVID, we some of our bigger clients needed us a little bit more. And so we got by fine. It wasn't like amazing, but it was.
I was employing dozens of doctors. And doctors aren't cheap,
Yeah.
right? So now the whole rest of the world needs doctors. But my business needs doctors. And it's optional medical services. And nobody was doing anything optional medical. So what do? What do you do? And let me tell you how this went down. I sold my house in the Anthem Country Club for, it was like $890,000, which sounds like a big number, except for I listed it at 1.4. Right? What are you going to do? We're talking about the middle of COVID. Like, our closing date was like October 2020. Like, right in the heart of it, where normally I might have rented it out or done something, but then there's all this, the memorandums going through. You don't want to rent somebody out a house like that, and you do that. Well, that house sold again 3 months ago.
Yeah.
How much do you think it sold for?
I mean, so it was like 800 you said around then is what you sold it for. I mean, what, like 3.4?
No, it was not that high.
2.
But it went 3 times up. They were like 2.4 or 2.5. And all they did was add $50,000 worth of slider doors in the back, to make like that party style room. Other than that, the house was exactly how I gave it to them. And had I waited 6 months, it would have been worth more. But at the same time, is when you need capital to keep everything running and you're in an unprecedented situation, what do?
Yeah.
So as a business owner, I kick myself in the ass all the way down the street just thinking about it. But the reality of the situation is that if the situation presented itself again without the knowledge, me looking back, I don't think it would have changed. I don't think I would have ever been able to change that decision, because I had to follow the safe route, sacrifice what I needed to sacrifice then to make it to the next step. Because if all my doctors would have went to the ERs and stuff like that, I might not ever get them back. right? And then what do I have? So I negotiated with everybody. I'm like, look, you guys stay home. I'll pay you this, but I need on paper that you're coming back. Right?
Yeah.
And I found out who was with me and who was not at that very moment. Not everybody stayed, but it was still in their best interest because who else was going to pay you and guarantee you pay to weather it out?
Yeah.
So the doctors that didn't want to go into the emergency room and find out what it was all about, they got money.
Yeah.
But it sucked. I sold a 2017 Audi R8 when they first redid the body style change, and it had like, I think 4,000 miles on it, 3,000 miles, nothing, right? And I sold it for, I think it was 110 grand. If I still own that car right now, which cars are depreciating assets, remember, right? We're always taught cars are depreciating assets. It'd be a $200,000 car, $250,000 car.
Yeah.
And I have dozens of those where all I was doing was doing that. That's the hard part. I could have closed the businesses. I could have walked away. I could have put everybody's family out to secure mine, kept a whole bunch of toys and houses and stuff like that. But that's entrepreneurship. That's what we sign up for.
Yeah.
My girlfriend, even right now, she's like, hey, you haven't had the time, and got this nationwide launch, all the marketing. And I said, look, how many other families rely on me to do what I'm going to do? I'm sorry you want to go to dinner.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you feel like you're not getting enough attention. But if I have to prioritize 100 other families or our dinner, it doesn't mean you are not a priority to me. It means that the dinner portion of it is not a priority to me. The livelihood of other people is.
Yeah. And that's hard too. Like if you're dating an entrepreneur or married to one, like if you know, like my wife's been incredibly great through this because we went once again from a lifestyle where I was home all the time. And in my head, right, because I was young and naive opening this, I was like, oh, I've been an entrepreneur forever. This will be so easy. I was like, give me 6 months and I will never even be working again, you know? And then that turned into like, 6 months later, I was like, yeah, give me like 2 years before we even start paying ourselves and start doing certain things. And, you know, I've worked so much and she's been so great through all of it. And, you know, if I didn't have her support, it'd be so much harder if I had to constantly like battle, like, you know, but it does suck because you do have to sacrifice, but, you know, it's entrepreneurship. It's a never ending battle of feeling like you're drowning and then one day you drown.
Right. Well, and your family has to sacrifice with you, right?
Yeah.
Your kids don't know it, but they're sacrificing with you, right? And if you're like me, your kids will really never know. You might not know how to keep the lights on the next day, but your kids would never know that. You know what I mean? Like that's entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
That's what you do. And you're going to sacrifice and everybody else is going to sacrifice. But if you sacrifice long enough, then hopefully you get the time. And I think that's the most important part. Because as an entrepreneur, you learn, like I said, the world's full of FU money, right? I can make more money. I can buy more houses. I can buy more cars. What I can't buy is time. I don't, like you said, I can admire that you said you won't miss your kids' practice. You won't miss your kids' first day at school. Well, I missed a lot of those days with my kids.
Yeah.
And I learned that lesson. And that's why I made the deal with them I did when I came back. And I do karate with them. I actually help instruct their classes when I can. Different things like that because I can't get that time back. Yeah. Once they're older and they're gone, you don't get to rewind the clock and get it all back. When you sacrifice that, you legitimately sacrifice that, so you better sacrifice it wisely because you're not getting it back.
Yeah, I think my son was like 9 years old, maybe 10, and we were driving the car one day, you know, and he was like, asking me like, you know, how come I don't miss any games, right? We were talking about something like that. I was like, well, this is important to me. You know, like I want to see you play. Like this, I work hard so you can play.
Right.
And, hockey's not freaking cheap. And I'm like, I work hard and I want to see you excel in life. I want to see you have fun. Like, I want to be there at these things. It's important to me to be there. And he's like, I was like, the only way I would miss like a game, right? I practice, I try to be at all of them, but if I have to miss practice, like at this point, I mean, he practices 18 times a week. So like if I miss one, I don't mind as much anymore. But like a game, I was like, I'd have to be paid a lot of money to miss a game. Like it'd have to be so much money that's worth it for our business or for our family that just, it's a no-brainer.
Right.
And he's like, well, how much, for $1,000 would you miss? I was like, no. He kept just going. And then he was like surprised, like the number I said. He was like so surprised. He's like, I was like, yeah, that's what one game is worth that much to me.
Right.
Like I'll turn down the rest of it because it's not worth it. Like I don't need that money. I'd rather be there, And so for me, that's always been like kind of like a non-negotiable. It's like certain things, like I'm not going to miss these, but I sacrificed a lot. Like I miss a lot of time with them.
Right.
But I'm not going to miss these certain moments, like I almost did miss my son's pre-K first day of school. But it worked out. Like our project got done just in the right time. Called my wife. I was like, I'll come over and pick you guys up.
Moving as fast as you can, huh?
Yeah. Got there, had plenty of time. And then that day, my wife, I was going to go back to work, but I was like, you know what? I'll hang out with you, and then I'll work later tonight. Like I can just not sleep. That's all right. Like I had plenty of those nights, slowly killing myself. But like I was like, I want to be there for the pickup, and I don't want to drive back to the office and come back. I'll just kind of work from home, hang out with you. And I was there for the pickup, and he was pumped to see me. He's like, Dad, school was amazing, and like I got to be there, and so. That's one thing about entrepreneurship that's nice is you get to choose for the most part. Like there's sometimes like, okay, like if it's an event, I can't choose to not be at this thing, but you get to choose what sacrifices you're willing to make. And sometimes you can't choose, but I don't know. I'm grateful for the journey. It's given me some cool opportunities, and we've had our downs too, where it's like,
right.
Opening the business, that's put our family in a different struggle. Like, my son's used to us, like, saying yes to everything. And now we're like, dude, like, you either get this or you get this. I can't buy both. So pick. Like, I want to say yes, but, like, we're not, like, I make less on production because I'm growing this business. I don't care about production anymore. And, this is a new business. It's taking us time to build it. We're getting our wings under us. Like, I don't have the funds that we used to have. And now I have also more responsibility of overhead. Like, because I had no overhead. It was so nice.
Right. Well, without knowing your position, it sounds like you're in a peculiar position because you have to juggle a lot, right? And this is where time is money, okay? It is. Like you said, you put a dollar value to say, okay, I would miss this, but it would have to be worth this, right? Which at the end of the day sucks because it sounds like you're trading. It sounds like someone can buy you away from your kids, but it's the only way that you can think about it, right?
Yeah.
Because if the offer can't be turned down, the offer can't be turned down, and it's a sacrifice the family has to make for the greater good, right? And generally, you get to make that call however you deem fit, and everybody has to understand. This is where I always tell people, if you are doing your labor for free and you're not building that into your cost or what you're charging people, then you are always going to fail as an entrepreneur because you're not valuing yourself, right? I did a video on this the other day. I said, you know what? I'm a cheap hooker. Somebody said, why? I said, because people pay me in protein shakes. Like, I have friends that are like, hey, can you come over and help me move this fridge? I got a protein shake inside of it for you, right? I'm like, man, is that really what my time is worth anymore? Now, obviously, for friends, that doesn't count. But the point is there's every bit of time you spend somewhere has a value. In the business, it does. If you are handcrafting a purse, for example, and you're selling it for 50% above material cost, where was your time factored into it? So on paper, it looks good, but you forgot your time. So now when you have all of these orders, it's there. When I was in northern Michigan, I got bored and I started a a clothing company. So I had like this DTF printer in my house and a sublimation printer so I could do custom cups. And I was doing live streams. And it was actually a whole lot of fun because I would take custom orders for shirts. I would buy the designs off of Etsy, print them, press it, ship them off. I got to the point where, like on an hour-long live stream, I was selling like 1,000 shirts. Cool, right? If you figure that my profit margin was $13 to $15 a piece, if I could sell 1,000, cool. Except for the fact that I had to still print them and make them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So once that hour live stream was done, mind you, I was doing the hour live stream after the kids went to bed. But then you have this 2-day window that TikTok says you have to ship out. Otherwise, they start taking a bigger percentage from you and giving you demerits and all of this stuff. Then I realized I'm staying up all night to fill these orders. Then I would take the kids to school. And then while they were in school, I was still getting them done. Then I'm racing to get them to the post office just in time to pick up my kids from school, feed them dinner, do homework with them, put them to bed, and start all over again. The money was cool if I needed it. The money was cool if I wanted to build something different. But I would run myself to the ground. I would run myself to the ground and my kids would never know it. My family would never know it. You would be secretly crashing out.
Yeah.
Just there's nothing you could do about it. And if I had actually valued my time better during that time period, the shirts would be worth a lot more. I probably wouldn't have sold as many, but it wouldn't have mattered because I would have valued my time. Would have went into it. If I could have sold half as many for twice as much, I would have still accomplished the same mission. And it would have been okay because how many other places can you jump online and say, hey, I want this design and I want it customized for this. And I had computers running AI generators so I could generate whatever you wanted, print it out in full color and do that. How many places can you actually do that in reality? So why was I charging the Walmart price for a regular printed shirt?
Exactly.
In theory, you think you're being competitive, but in reality, you just shortchanged yourself because I was still offering a product that you couldn't get anywhere else, only taking away my time to try and remain competitive.
Yeah.
That's what we learn somewhere along the way is that time. That's why you don't get that time back.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a lesson that almost every entrepreneur goes through. I know for me, like doing videos, like being like a creative, I already have like, I have low self-esteem, which is why I create to be like, look, I'm worth something, right? Like I'm an artist. I see, I don't, whatever. And, forever, it took me so long to like understand my value of my art form of creating videos for business and what it was worth. Took me forever. Like it actually wasn't until I met my current wife. I met her and I was like, she's hot. She could have anything she wants. I have to make more money. Pay me more, please, so I can have her, right? And then I doubled my my income that year, my revenue that year, and had really good growth ever since. But it wasn't until like I knew what my talents were, and I was still underpriced for sure. Like my production fees are more than a lot of people, but it's underpriced for what we do, and I know that. But it gave me the lifestyle that I was happy with, so I don't mind, and I like the clients I work with. But then, I was super confident, super solid, and then once I opened this up, I think because it was new, and because now we have overhead and whatever, and I invested more money than I ever have into something.
Right.
I got back into that mindset of like, oh no, I'm not worth anything. Like, sure, yeah, I'll do this, I'll do that. Oh yeah, okay, and now it's taken me about 2 years, but now we're standing on business. We remember our worth. We're going to raise our rates on certain things actually in the next couple of months once we hit a couple more goals. And because we're more confident, we get better clientele.
It's funny how you can revert though, right?
Oh,
you
yeah.
know this. You already built this idea that your time is worth X amount. And then when you go into a new business, you revert because the thought process goes into building the business and forgetting about yourself. It's like this self-sacrifice.
Uh-huh.
But all you do is you shoot yourself in the foot, right? Because you set your price. and you build it so the right people come to you, which is what I think a lot of people forget, right? If I want to open a boutique coffee shop, I want to charge more than Starbucks because I'm boutique. I'm unique. I am me. I am going to do it my way. I'm going to have my own spin on it. So if I'm comparing myself with Starbucks, then I'm going to live in Starbucks' world, right? But if I have an astronomical number, but let's call it a $200 cup of coffee, there's going to be a certain amount of people that want to come and pay $200 to figure out why it's a $200 cup of coffee. And they're not going to be everybody. But the cup of coffee that you would sell for $10 or the cup of coffee that you would sell for $200 could be the same thing with a different atmosphere or presentation or anything else. So you wait, you build it for the customer base you want, and then you wait for them to show up and you weather it. Because once you go backwards, it's hard to charge more. It is hard to put a client in place. Let's say you're renting out one of these rooms and you have all of the sound, all of the editing. You do all of that for everybody, right? You still have to keep the overhead, and you're like, it's this amount. And then you realize you're shooting yourself in the foot, and you have to call that client back. And they're like, hey, on your next week appointment, we have to move to this. Your client doesn't care what your reason is.
Yeah.
And as bad as it sounds, if it's a friend, they will care less. Let me rephrase. If it's a friend, they should care more and be willing to do whatever it is. But in the real world, your friends always want a discount, which actually hurts you.
Oh, yeah. That's the worst. Like, luckily, we have no friends that use this. I have no friends in general, but we have no friends that use the studio.
But I think that's why real entrepreneurs have very small circles because of
Yeah.
Right? Like if you own a retail shop and everybody's like, oh man, I want this stuff for cheap. My boy owns this. I'm going to go get it for cheap. Well, you're hurting your boy, right? Because I went through this with somebody the other day and they thought I was crazy. When I say they thought I was crazy, I mean they really thought I was crazy. Because I said, well, if you would say no to me, to coming to me because I wouldn't give you a discount, that means you're going to go to one of my competitors and pay full price.
Yeah, which is crazy. It's like,
you kicked me in the nuts.
Yeah.
You kicked me in the nuts when you're supposed to be my friend, which means at the end of the day, if you're willing to pay my competitor full price because I didn't hook you up, then you're not supporting me.
Yeah.
Nobody understands that. I had one of my guys, I needed him to build me a landing page. I'm like, Barry, I need a landing page. He's like, all right, what am I charging you on this? I said, dude, I want to give you a percentage. Like, you always work for X amount, and it's on the same weight loss thing. I said, we got some money to make here. Take a percentage of anything that this thing can generate. He's like, well, what's the percentage? I said, I don't know. He said, what do you mean you don't know? I said, it's your work. Here's our potential. Here's my marketing budget of everything I'm going to send to there. You run my pay-per-click ads anyways. What do you think it's worth? I think that was 3 weeks ago. I still don't have an answer. Because he's afraid to insult me, to put a price on it, because that's what society has taught us as entrepreneurs, is the people that we're closest with are going to turn our backs if they don't like the answers that we have. When the reality of the situation is, if he gave me an answer, I'd be like, Barry, you're too high. And here's why. But the reason I want him to put a price on it is because if I put a price on it for him, he could feel devalued. Yeah. The same way he's worried that if he puts too high of a price on it, that I'm going to feel he's overvalued and cocky.
Yeah. I I go to church and stuff, and like there's some business owners around there, and I have like a policy, like I won't do business with you if I know you. Like if I'm going to see you at church and stuff, I don't want to do business with you. Because either one, you're going to come to me and I'm going to feel insulted when you say my price is too high, or you're going to feel insulted because you think my price is too high.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't want those conversations. Like, I've had them in the past, and then it's awkward. I got to see you every week and stuff too. And I'm like, dude, and I gave you a lower price to try to be nice, and then you're still like, oh, well, that's just too much money or whatever. It's so.
It's a hard process.
I can't do stuff with people I know. I'd rather be a stranger. But yeah, no, I definitely reverted, and like I knew I was reverting, but it was so hard for me. Just to get out of it. I finally got out of it, and we aren't raising prices on current clients. We're going to keep them at where they are for helping us and being part of the beginning. But we did change a policy of ours with what was included, and we had out of a few awkward conversations with a couple of our clients. But they're the difficult ones. They're the ones that are going to fall off and should have never been our clients. But because we didn't value ourselves, we got the wrong type of clientele in here that wants to take advantage and wants to use that circumstance.
But it's the cheap clientele that's always the problem. Did you ever notice that?
1,000,000%, yeah.
The guy that comes in with this massive budget is like, look, do what you got to do. And the person that comes in with the smallest budget, I understand you want to micromanage because you have a smaller budget. But if you shoot yourself in the foot because you run it that way, then you're doing exactly that. You're shooting yourself in the foot.
And it's definitely that way. Like, so like with the production stuff, like our clients that spend like 15, 20 grand on like 1 to 2 videos, send them the video, they're like, perfect, thanks, and pay the check same day. Then the ones that's like $1,000 for a video, it's like they want 1 million changes, and then you got to chase them down for the money. And then like, can I pay you 20 cents a day for the next 5 years to pay you back? You know, like, my buddy's dealing with that right now. He freelanced for a company. You know, he don't really freelance this for me, and the dude, he's paying him back in like installments. And it's like a $400
right
thing. And it's just, I'm like,
and you already turned over a digital product. So what are you going to do?
That was my one thing about this is, you know, we're going from production where we're charging a decent amount of money, you know, $10,000 to $20,000 projects, typically 1 to 2 videos, to now we're $299 for an hour and a half, and then we still get told we're expensive. When I'm like, dude, we're industry rate. Like, this is kind of what people charge. Actually, we're cheaper than industry rate. We do need to raise them up, and then the editing costs. Like, we have our memberships right now where it's like, so for 4 sessions a month, would be $1,200 if you just came in, and that doesn't include like the edit of the episode. It's a live cut of like what like Gabe's doing right now.
Right.
And we do a membership at $1,500 a month that gives you the full edit of the episode, 6 shorts per episode for $300 more than what you'd be paying for it. And people are still like, oh, like the people we're talking to are like, oh, that's expensive. And then we're like, oh, then we start devaluing ourselves more until we get around the right crowd. Like most of our clients, our actual clients are like, dude, this is crazy cheap.
But it's expectation, right? So I believe wholeheartedly that the internet creates false expectations. And here's what I mean by that. I'm going to use the fitness industry because I use it a lot. Okay. How many fitness influencers do you see that are guys that come across your page all the time? Like just little things, right? What if I told you that less than 3% of guys have visible abs, right? So again, unrealistic expectation. Now you have these guys and they're online all the time. Well, if you can't bench 250 pounds, you're a nobody, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Well, what if I told you that less than 1% can bench 135 pounds? Which is just a 145 plate on each side, right? So now you have all of these guys that are coming across and they have abs and they're benching 315 pounds. Well, they're the 1% of the 1%. But they are more visible because finding 1% of the population on the internet in a niche is easier to do than the real world. So in your world, production costs here. Every ad that's going to come up when I leave here, because our phones always tell us what we talked about, is going to tell me how there's podcast microphones that are sound deadening built into them, right? And then Opus Clips is going to come up and tell me how I can get 1 million shorts out of my long form video for $99 a month. But the reality is none of these products actually equate to what you are going to put out. Again, an assumption because I haven't actually seen your work, but assuming that you do everything that you're supposed to do, your shorts are going to be much more efficient than Opus Clip that's running them. If it was that easy, then all of these big streamers wouldn't be running clippers because Opus Clip would do it for $99, right? Why are these guys making $25 to $30 million a year streaming, and they're paying six figures to clippers to do it if Opus Clip is supposed to be the one and done, right? But if you buy this kit, you can make a sound room in your house, and it's gonna be so easy, right? Unrealistic expectation, because we allow anybody to put anything they want on the internet. And then when they walk into a real brick and mortar business here, they forget that you have overhead, right? Your time costs money. Your employees cost money. These lights cost money. This building costs money. Everything that goes into this room costs money. It all has upkeep. It all has all of that. So they're not willing to factor that in because the internet has told them that it's that way. I just closed a brick and mortar location for one of my clinics here locally because I can't compete with myself. I can give you weight loss with medication sent to your house and coaching for $2.99 a month on the internet. I can't do that in a brick and mortar because I need somebody sitting behind the desk, because I still have to pay for the liability insurance, because I still got to keep the lights on. I still got to keep the gas on. I still have to furnish the place. You know what I mean? Like, all of this stuff is there. I put myself out of business because of the internet, which in that scenario is okay because it's actually more convenient to do it from your house. But what you do, it's not. It's just an unrealistic expectation. And that costs money too. And your job, as bad as it sucks, because remember, I can't get people into free coaching, is to educate your customers.
Yep.
So they're willing to pay what it's worth because it's there. And sometimes the only way you can educate them is by selling yourself short to prove a point and hope that they're actually willing to comply on the other end, where there's no way for you to win. There's not. It is literally the definition of insanity. You can get the same results by walking over to this wall and slamming your head against it repeatedly, just waiting for the right person to show up, because you're going to constantly fight. And as technology gets better and as AI gets better, you are going to fight that more and more and more. And it doesn't ever make your business less viable or less important. It just makes it less viable and less important to the people who actually need it more than they think they do.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love that, man. I've loved our conversation today as well. I definitely want to bring you back so we can talk more about your past and some of the crazy stories too. So I know we didn't get into that, but I got to let Gabe eat some food at some point today. And I haven't eaten either.
Yeah, you guys should probably eat.
But where can people find out more information about you?
Let me double check my TikTok. I'm pretty sure it's Johnny Vegas Official, which is where most people find me. Yeah, Johnny Vegas Official on TikTok, Vitalux.net. That's where we do all the weight loss, free coaching. God damn it, if you guys see this, it's actually free. Again, this is where we devalue ourselves to try and get that. But I'd love to hear from anybody. Hopefully we can continue this conversation later on. It's great to meet you guys. I know that you guys need to eat, and it's been a long day.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely bring you back on. Like I said, I want to go into like some of your past stories and stuff that you were telling me. It sounds like a crazy ride. So
that's where you get your shorts.
Yeah, that's what we'll clip farm for days.
Yeah, that's where you get clickbait for sure, because Vegas is a wild town, and I've been on a weird ride.
Welcome to Built in Vegas, the podcast where we spotlight the stories, strategies, and resources behind the businesses that make Vegas thrive. Whether you're starting up or scaling up, you're in the right place. Brought to you by the Video Podcast Studio.